Hi, this is Melissa from Barnes Sewing Center, and today I'm going to show you how to thread your 4-thread Baby Lock Serger with the revolutionary threading system. So this will include the Baby Lock Enlighten and the Baby Lock Acclaim. Let's get started. So to begin, the first thing I want to do is open up the right side of the machine, and then I can grab this little notch here, slide it over to the right, and this piece will pull straight down. So my machine is threaded right now, but if I want to put different color spools of thread on the machine, I need to release this thread from the machine. So to do that, I'm going to cut my thread at the very top of the machine, and I'm going to lift my presser foot up. Now if I grab these thread tails and try to pull on them, sometimes they're kind of stuck. They're kind of caught in the middle of forming a stitch, and I really can't release them from the machine. So normally I'm going to turn the hand wheel on the right side of the machine towards me. But in order to release that previous stitch, I'm going to hold my thread tails, and with my hand wheel I'm going to take one rotation away. And as I do that, very quickly my thread tails release, and I can free all the threads from the machine, and now I'm ready to start threading. The first thing I want to do is tell the machine that I'm ready to thread it. So I'm going to take this lever here and push it down to threading. Now I want to turn my hand wheel towards me, and as I'm doing that, the mechanisms in here are going to move, and once everything lines up, my threading tubes are going to shoot right across. So the machine does that automatically for me. I just have to tell it that I'm ready to thread it, and then turn the hand wheel towards me, and once everything lines up, my threading tubes shoot across. So I'm going to take my lower looper thread, and I'm going to hold the thread between my two hands, and I'm going to click it straight into my threading port and follow straight down the path. I'm going to continue down my right threading path, and I'm going to catch the thread behind this little bar here. It's just a little nub, and I'm just going to wrap the thread around the right side. Pull some excess thread towards me. So now I'm going to take about 1/2 inch of my tail of thread and place it right into my lower looper threading port. At this point I can push my push to thread loopers button, and that is going to carry my thread all the way through and all the way to the end of my lower looper. My thread tail is very long, so I am just going to cut it so it's about even with the base of my machine, and I'm just going to let it hang there. I'm ready to move on to my next thread, which is going to be my upper looper. Now I'll take my upper looper thread, again holding the thread from the front and the back and pushing it straight down into the threading port in the back here, and you do want to hear it click into place. And then I'll just follow straight down. Once the thread is clicked in the back, I will continue straight down the path behind the nub and pull some excess thread. So sometimes what happens is we forget to pull this excess thread towards us. So I want to show you what happens if you forget. Take about 1/2 inch of our thread tail and put it right into our upper looper port, and then I'm going to push my threading button. I can see that the threading has started, but the end of the thread tail has not pulled through to my end of my looper yet. So all I have to do is pull some more excess thread down, push the button one more time, and now I can see that my looper is completely threaded, and I'm going to take those tails and shove them to the back. Now I'm ready to thread my needles. I'm going to grab my left needle thread first. Again, there's no specific order I have to thread this serger in. I could start with my needles, I could start with my loopers, it does not matter. And pull it straight down my path. I have a little nub here to catch the thread behind, and then I'm going to travel to the left. Going straight across and underneath this little white arm, up, around, and down, and then I'm going to catch the thread behind this little latch here. Remember, it's super important before you thread your Baby Lock Serger to make sure that your presser foot is lifted up so all of your tension discs up here are open. If the presser foot is down, your tension discs will be closed, and you'll just get a big jumble of thread on the back of your fabric. So make sure before you start threading your needles or your loopers that that presser foot is lifted up. So I'm just going to leave my left needle thread hang here, and I'm going to take my right needle thread, holding the thread in both hands and clicking it into the port, and straight down my right needle threading path. Again, there's the little nub to catch it behind, and then I'm going to travel to the left. So following the same path into this opening, underneath this little finger, up, around, and down, and then catching the thread behind that little bar. Now this is the Baby Lock Acclaim, so this has the jet air threading for the needles. So in order to do that, I'm going to leave my lever here in the threading position, and on the left side of my machine I have this other little lever that I can pull down, and you can see this yellow piece swings down and it hugs around my needle. That is going to pull air through, which is going to take my thread tail, pull it into the eye of the needle for me, and completely thread my needles for me. So what I want to do is I'm going to take my right needle thread and I'm just going to cut a fresh edge to it. So as I'm bringing this thread towards the eye of my right needle, I'm going to push this button up here on the left corner of my machine, which says push to thread needles. So as I push that button, it's going to engage the air that's going to grab my tail of thread and pull it right into the eye of my needle for me. So bringing my thread towards the eye of the needle, push my air threading button, and it just grabs that thread and pulls it into the eye of the needle for me. Now I'm going to take my left needle thread and do the same thing, bringing it towards the eye of my left needle and pushing my threading button. I still have a little loop of thread tail here, which is okay because as soon as I push up on this lever on the left side, it's going to grab those thread tails for me and just finish pulling them through the eyes of the needles. So now my needles are completely threaded. I'm going to bring the thread to the back and underneath my presser foot. So my serger is completely threaded now for my 4-thread overlock. I'm just going to bring my lever back up to serging and close up the machine. Now I can take my 2 pieces of fabric, put the right sides together and under the presser foot. Remember, the presser foot is up because we've been threading the machine. So at this point you'll want to lower the presser foot before you start sewing. And you can see right away my tensions are perfect. And a ton of stretch is built into this stitch as well with this knit fabric here. So that is how you thread your 4-thread Baby Lock Serger with the Revolutionaire threading. Thanks!